Hi there, Ford owners. Today in your 2017 Ford F-250 Super Duty, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to replace your cabin air filter. Replacing your cabin air filter can ease your breathing by catching all kinds of particulates that would normally be blown out the vents just right into the cab that you can be breathing in. And this is going to include things like pollen, stuff that causes allergies and different allergy seasons. It can also help to remove some smells. I mean, obviously there's smaller particles are going to get through there, but it can help to reduce the smell by collecting some of that stuff in there in the debris. It also protects your HVAC system from that debris as well. A lot of older vehicles didn't have cabin filters. And what can happen is if you don't have one in there, you're going to be breathing in all that stuff, but you're also going to be sucking in all that dirt, debris, potentially leaves. If you live in a wooded area like I do, it's not uncommon to find animals that put leaves and other debris in the area under the hood where it draws that in, and then eventually you get some of that stuff down in there. So having a cabin filter to collect all that stuff and prevent it from getting into your HVAC system is just going to save you in the long run. If you get any kind of leaves and debris in there, it can get sucked down into the blower motor, which can cause a noise. A common kind of noise you would hear would be like a tick, 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 tick. And it's usually like a leaf or a pine needle hitting it as it's going around. It's unlikely that it's going to damage it, but over a long period of time, it could throw that motor off balance and cause premature wear on it. And any of that debris that goes through the system could clog up different areas, could affect your blend doors, which adjust between hot and cold. It could also affect your mode doors, which affects the positioning, if it's going to come out the vents, the floor. Any debris gets in there and it stops it from moving or prevents it from moving full on its full mode of travel. It could potentially damage it, or you could get unexpected operation where if you want it coming out the vents and it hangs up the door halfway, you might have air coming out of the floor and the middle or areas where you don't want to. So it's a really good idea just to keep everything clean here. I recommend checking this a minimum of once a year just to check it out over time. As far as replacing it maintenance wise, it is something that is going to help your breathing as well. So just for your health and for your vehicle's health, keep up on replacing these. We'll begin our installation here on the passenger side. You'll find your factory, your original filter located behind the glove compartment there. So just go ahead and open up the glove compartment first. Now before we take the glove compartment down out of the way, this shaft here on the side, this is the mechanism that allows it to kind of slowly open. If you let it go here, you can see it kind of slows its travel down. So we're going to pull that out of there, just kind of push this a little bit towards the rear of the vehicle. It'll kind of snap, and you can actually look on the inside too and see the tab on the other side of the plastic for the little slot that it fits in. After you pop it towards the rear, that'll just pull outward just a little bit, and then you can release it, right? Just like that. And you can see without it, it falls open very fast. So you'll know if you forget to hook it up if it acts like that. Now that we've got that out of the way, you'll see these little slots right there. There's a spot just like that on the other side. That is the release button. So go ahead and press this in on each side, and then this will lower down. Now your stuff here is probably going to fall out. We'll put that back in there later. Don't worry about that. But now in this opening right here, we can access our cabin filter. So now that we've got this glove box out of the way, the cabin filter is actually located right here. This is where the compartment is that you're going to install it, but we can't quite get to it yet. We can see it, but we're not there, you know. So to get quite to it, we're going to get this compartment out of the way that's located here. This is obstructing us. So to remove this compartment, you'll open up your upper glove compartment here. So press the button to open that up, and then we'll pull off the trim piece located here. And you may need to use a trim tool when popping this thing out. We've got a trim tool here. So we're just working our way down with our trim tool, popping it out as we go. There we go. We'll take the interior piece out there, set that aside. That's going to reveal the fasteners that we've got up here, so we're going to remove those now. We'll use a 7mm socket to remove the two fasteners. And then this interior piece can be pulled out. We're just kind of grabbing it and giving it a tug, looking for the clips where they're located, trying to pull kind of in that area wherever you feel the tension. Now, after you get it popped out, don't keep pulling, because we've got an electrical connector where that switch is there. So we're just going to gently pull that down so we can access these connectors here. We'll then press it on the release tab and disconnect the connector. The other one here, let's see if we can't flip it over, has a lock tab here that you have to pull back first. Then you can press the release lever and disconnect it. We can then set this piece aside, and now we can access the cabin filter compartment, which is located here. So if we look at the filter compartment, each side on the left has a tab. So you'll pull outward a little bit on each one of those. That'll let it rock down, and then we can pull the bottom pieces out of their little grooves. You might have to pull down on this wiring harness just a little bit. Now, our filter is going to be located inside. Before you slide the filter out, first do a quick inspection on top, because you could have leaves, dirt, and debris and stuff in there, and you might want to grab a vacuum and suck that out. Because if you just pull this filter out and it's got a bunch of leaves, little pine needles and stuff like that, as soon as you pull this filter out, some of that garbage is going to fall down to where your blower motor is there. And then when you turn the blower motor on, you're going to hear like a bunch of noise from the leaves and stuff like that getting kind of blended up inside there. So I don't really see any big particulates on top, so we are good to slide it out. I also want to look and verify if I see a direction of airflow on there, because normally on your cabin air filters they are designed to go one direction. So here's our new one. We can see airflow, and it has an arrow showing which way air is supposed to flow. Now, we already know, because of the setup here, that our blower motor's down there. Well, the blower motor has to be drawing air towards it, so we know air has to go from the top down, and then it feeds to the rest of the system. But if you see an arrow, it's always a good idea to just double check that. So we're ready to slide this out now. And we can see these little flaps on the side were folded up, so pay attention to that. We've got that out of there. And it has some dirt in it. This could definitely use changing. There's no large particulates in here, but we've caught quite a bit of dirt, debris, and pollen, the stuff that kind of makes you have the sniffles and sneezes. We're catching a lot of that and keeping it out of the interior here, so that way you have a easier time breathing with cleaner air. And that's kind of the main purpose of our cabin filter. This filters the air that's being drawn into the cabin through our HVAC system. Helps to protect like the evaporator coils and other things from getting dirt and debris built up on them, but it also can, again, help to prevent pollen and bacteria and stuff like that from forming, and helps you breathe easier. Now, we are going to look and see if we do have a direction of airflow on here. Looks like there is no notation on this one, but again, we already talked about that. The blower motor's right here. You can even stick your hand in there and I can spin the blower motor, and that's not a bad idea to do, is just check, make sure you didn't drop anything down in there. Now, you never want to put your hand in here when you have the ignition on, because this blower motor could turn on, so make sure everything is off before you ever decide to check inside of there. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put the new one in. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely could use replacement. You can see that gray color there is all that pollen and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty dirty even on the other side, which means it's made its way fairly saturated into the cavities of our filter here. So we'll get this guy out of the way, toss it to the side. Grab our new filter. We know the blower motor's right there below it, so it has to draw it in from up top here. So our airflow is gonna be downward. So go ahead and slide this guy up here. The side pieces were folded up on the previous one, so we're gonna fold ours up to match how the factory filter was there. And then we'll slide this in place. And that all looks good. It's sitting down all the way. We've got our airflow showing that we are going in the correct direction. So that's it. At this point, we'll just put our piece back on and seal it back up and reinstall it in reverse order. All right, so now that we've checked our blower motor, we know there's no debris in there. We got our new filter in here. We know our airflow is going in the correct direction. At this point, we're just going to reassemble in reverse order of how we removed it. So we'll put our cover on. That'll snap into place. Make sure it does click all the way in. These bottom pieces need to be hooked down here. There we go. Now it ain't coming off of there. That's what you want to see, so just verify that. Then we can reinstall our upper glove compartment. Plug our connectors back in there. Don't forget to push your lock tab back down, and then this component will just click back into place. Just kind of working my hand down it, making sure I push the clips back in. We can then reinstall the fasteners. After we've got our fasteners reinstalled, we had the piece across here that we had removed. So we can go ahead and reinstall that. I'm going to pull the stuff out of the compartment too, because the strip across the front also kind of has a rubberized like anti-skid tray. It's part of it. And the back of it has little tabs there that need to fit into those grooves, so we want to make sure we get it lined up properly. Make sure all those go in the back. And then we can push the rest back into place. Then our lower compartment, we can go ahead and lift up on that. Make sure you grab your arm there. We just want to make sure that we don't hit it with anything and damage it, because these are actually fairly fragile, those little dampeners. So after you've verified the arm will clear out of the way, we can push in on the buttons on each side to reinstall the compartment. And then that little arm that we'd removed right down inside of here, there's the hole right there, the slotted hole that you can see. So we're going to grab our mechanism, push it through the hole. Right there you can see it pushing through. And then we're going to push that towards the front of the vehicle to clip that into place. At that point now, just check the operation of your compartments. Make sure that they open and close properly. Nothing's binding. That all seems good. So now we'll just refill the compartments with the items that the customer had in there. And that completes our installation of the replacement cabin air filter on our 2017 Ford F-250 Super Duty.